Alex, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
We get to do this again. What got you in theater and stuff like that?
What got me into theater? It was 7th grade. I was dating this girl at the time. And she wanted to try out for the school production of Sherlock Holmes. And she was like, "Oh, I'm really nervous, and can you come audition with me? Yeah, it doesn't matter if you get in and I don't, trying to coax me into it. Yeah. And I'm like, all right. I mean, I'm in 7th grade. Girls, you got to do what they say, right? So I go in and I audition, and the director, Mr. Johnny Williams was his name. He got all the guys to stand up at the front of the room, because we didn't
Right.
audition on the stage. We auditioned in the classroom. Mm-hmm. Had us line up at the front of the room, and he pointed. He's like, "You're too tall. Get out of here. You're too short. Get out of here." And then it got boiled down to me, and I can't remember the kid's name, and this really short kid. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Okay, make your evilest face." I just stared at him,
right?
Because I didn't know what he wanted me to do.
Right.
So he looks at me and he's like, "Great, you get to be Moriarty." And I'm like, "Do you want me to read some lines?" "Oh, yes. He sits me down, read a couple lines. He's like, "Okay, you're Moriarty. Mm-hmm. Show up Monday." And my ex-girlfriend currently, right. But right. The current girlfriend back then, got into the play, mm-hmm. But she decided to be such a drama queen.
Right.
The director kicked her off the play, and she broke up with me because I didn't want to quit the play.
Whoa!
I'm like, whoa! I just did all this work to get into the play.
Right. I'm
not gonna quit just because you got kicked out.
Right.
So
we know, and you probably have plenty of stories too, where people on stage have had offstage romances. Sometimes it works, and a lot of times it doesn't. But still, you've probably seen that too.
Yeah. Yeah, on-stage relationships never worked off-stage. But if it starts off-stage, it goes on-stage, maybe there's a little leeway.
Right.
And it's really awkward if the person that you're supposed to have an on-stage romance with
right.
already has a boyfriend, and
yes.
you have to share that kissing scene with them.
Yes.
It's like, cool, I get to pretend to kiss
right.
this woman, and the boyfriend's out in the audience,
right?
Probably staring at me,
giving you the evil eye,
giving me the evil eye. And when I'm walking back to my car, he's probably going to jump me and say, "That's for kissing my girlfriend." I can honestly say that being Paul, having to
right.
pretend kiss
right.
Marie Louise, I constantly have that because her boyfriend's usually in the audience during rehearsal,
yes, yeah.
and
yeah.
he's usually in the audience when he can come, and I feel 2 laser beams fire into the back of my skull, and I'm like, oh.
Don't even think about it.
I'm like, trust me, I'm not gonna kiss your girl. Just stop making this awkward because I know you're staring at me.
I think that's probably the hardest thing, especially for people that if they've been dating, but not too long, and I don't know how long they're dating, too. Or even if they've been dating a while, but they're not used to theater. Because sooner or later, you're probably going to have to kiss somebody, or at least fake it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I think girls, if they have an actor boyfriend,
right.
or vice versa,
right.
they need to understand that acting is pretend. It's
That's
all
right.
pretend.
That's right.
If I smooch a girl in character, that doesn't
right.
mean I'm smooching her as Alex Allen. I'm smooching her as
right.
the character.
Right.
And it shouldn't be that awkward, but
But even still,
even still, that you don't know what's going on in their mind. So
right.
you're trying. The reason why it's becoming awkward is because you're overthinking it, and that's what I do.
Right.
I'm like, because I know for sure that if my girlfriend was up on stage and making out with this devilishly handsome, I'm just kidding. This guy, I'd be kind of jealous because I'm like, okay, well. Because, it's an instinct kind of thing.
Sure.
You're getting overprotective about
right.
your girl.
Yeah, that's probably the first, like I said, your first instinct. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
it's
gut
like, whoa.
Okay, wait a minute. But then you go, wait a minute. It's just.
Oh, it's just acting. Okay. Yeah, okay, it's just pretend.
So did you get the bug after this?
After Sherlock Holmes, yes,
Yeah.
I did get the bug. I always had the bug. When I
Right.
was a kid, I used to be that weird little kid that was socially awkward. And when I was 5 years old, I can distinctly remembering me dressing up like Pajama Sam, which is this old Flash game character made by Humongous Entertainment. Guys in footy pajamas, blue footy pajamas with a red cape, and I distinctly remembering me dressing up like Pajama Sam, running around Benihana's 5 times, saying, "I will vanquish you, darkness," and having all the patrons just stare at me. Then again, they can give me leeway because I was 5 years old.
That's right. Oh, you're cute. Yeah,
Oh
you're
yeah,
fine.
you're cute.
That's
You're,
okay.
oh, look at a red cape. Oh, he must be Superman. But yeah, after that, I kind of took a little bit of a hiatus because all throughout high school, there's just been real silly plays. I mean,
Really? In high school?
yeah, you'd think that there would be like Midsummer's Night's Dream,
Right.
Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
Well, Romeo and Juliet's overdone, but still,
Right,
it's
right.
classic.
Right.
But you'd think you'd have some serious plays, and throughout high school, they always had auditions for plays called like Moon Over Buffalo.
Okay, yeah.
There was Boys Next Door.
Yeah, that's a serious one.
That is a very serious play, but
Very powerful if you do it right.
yeah, very very powerful. That one was there was a few serious plays.
Right.
But I didn't want to audition for Boys Next Door because I didn't want to offend people. And I'm a people pleaser.
Well, that's true. Let's talk about that. We're basically in the Bible Belt, right? Mm-hmm. And, well, you can offend people really easily. It's amazing what you can do. Just saying the word God. Or even just saying, damn, for some people, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, oh, don't even think about that. Then there's always topics, right? What's appropriate, what's not appropriate, So, and that's a pretty serious play. I mean, there's some pretty serious cussing, but I mean, it's part of the character.
Yeah.
And they're not making fun of the characters.
No,
absolutely
they are not. But
No.
once again, this is a high school production.
Right.
Kids are immature. They'll
Right.
come in and they'll laugh like, ah ha ha, look
Right.
at this guy.
Right.
And some parents might come in and find the play offensive.
Sure, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So to avoid all the stress and headache because it's high school, people ridicule you because of the characters.
Sure.
So I stayed away from that one, and then we had The Marriage of Bet and Boo. I don't know if you've heard
Don't
of
know that one. What is that?
Apparently, it's about the Bet and Boo get married,
Yep.
and they start having kids.
Yeah.
Each kid dies, like
Okay.
miscarriage.
Right.
And it goes on and on and on and throughout the entire play until they're old and they can't have any more kids. And it's
Right.
really weird. I had to watch it and write a critique about it. And I couldn't make the play.
Right.
So they had someone record it. And I watched it. And oh my God, projection. Oh my God. I can only hear one girl, and that was Boo, not Boo, Bet,
Right.
and she was yelling, "Boo! Boo!" That's the only line I could hear. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, how am I supposed to write a critique about this? All right. They said nothing. And then there was always this one guy coming out on stage, and he was giving this monologue before each scene.
Right.
I couldn't even get the full gist of the play because it was so quiet. So I called him Vinny the Voiceless, and I still got an A on that critique.
Wow.
I totally just ripped the piss out of that entire play.
Mm-hmm.
And I still got an A. I was like, okay, all right.
Whatever.
But projection, I mean, any actor going on stage needs to realize that this isn't cinematography acting. Cinematography
Right.
acting.
Oh, very different, yes.
Acting. You got your boom mics, you got the mics on the cameras,
Mm-hmm.
you got the voiceovers that you have to do back at the studio,
Right.
like in Lord of the Rings,
Right.
during those big battle scenes.
Right.
To get a clear voiceover, they had to go back and they had to take it inside the house or the studio.
Right.
But they got to realize that when you're on stage and you whisper, you gotta, you gotta make a loud whisper, even if you kind of, rasp up your voice a little bit and make it sound like you're whispering.
Right. The stage voice is definitely different. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Stage voice is very different. And of course, it depends on the size of your, and the acoustics of the theater that you're in.
Like over at the O, and every other performance has to be mic'd.
Well, yeah, because the acoustics are awful.
Yeah,
and that's nothing against the Owen. It's just that most modern places, let's just say, most modern structures aren't built acoustically well. And it just dies.
Especially when the theater was created from an old warehouse.
Right, absolutely, right. So
warehouses weren't meant to have loud noises bounce off on them.
In fact, you probably don't want that because it get really annoying after a while. I was like, I want it to be quiet. Can we dampen the noise a little bit here?
It's like, oh God, who's saying hello?
You've been doing this for quite a while, but obviously you've probably seen a lot of people, first-time actors, whether it's in community college, high school. So what's probably the biggest mistake first-time actors make?
They go on and they try to do stereotypes.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Like, do a Russian guy. He's from Russia.
Right.
And they always make him talk about vodka and the KGB. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that would be okay if she said, play a Russian guy who really loves vodka and was an ex-KGB member. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can see that, but she wanted just a normal Joe Schmo Russian guy. Mm. And we had a Russian girl in our acting class.
Oh, yes.
Oh, and we used to do this game where we'd interview the characters,
sure.
and you had a improv. Okay, what's this character? What's his background?
Sure.
When the guy started talking about Russia and stuff, she was belting out questions like, "Oh, where in Russia? How was your life? What is your income status?"
Right.
And I'm like, boy.
Obviously, I haven't thought about all these little details.
Yeah, because if you're gonna go and you're gonna portray a nationality,
yes, do your homework.
Gotta do your homework.
Absolutely.
If you only know that the Russians are used to be communists, they're still communists, but not Soviets.
Right.
If you just know that Russians were Soviets and they drink a lot of vodka and there's a group called the KGB in there, that's not doing your homework, and you'll offend people.
Right. Well, it's going to be, like I said, a stereotype or a caricature of what we as Americans think of Russians, as opposed to what they really are.
If it's now, but she was asking for a serious guy.
Yeah.
Now, if this was like funny comedy, I could see
vodka,
KGB,
matter.
That's fine. But she wanted a serious portrayal of a Russian Joe Schmo.
Right.
Because she was also an accent coach, and we were learning accents.
Right, absolutely.
And another thing that new actors, besides projection, besides avoiding stereotypes and doing their homework, is they gotta learn two things: where to plant their feet, and where to face.
Yes.
You know?
Right.
Because when you're standing and you shuffle your feet and stuff, you're probably doing that as like Alex Allen, and you're nervous on stage and you start shuffling your feet, but the audience isn't seeing that. They don't see you as Alex Allen. They see you as the character. And if the character shuffles their feet, it can be interpreted that the character's weak. Or the character is unstable in some way. Why is he shuffling his feet? What is the true purpose of the shuffling of the feet?
Well, back to the suspense of disbelief, right? Are we playing a character, or are we just pretending to play the character? You know, you don't get invested in the character, into the story, and lose yourself in, which you would like. Yeah. But if you're going, what's going on? And for a lot of people that are they're just there to enjoy the show.
Yeah,
absolutely, right? Just they're on the show. But you don't have to be trained to tell something's odd, right? Yeah. You can look in and go, I don't know. It's just, you can say, well, what's wrong? They may not be able to vocalize it, but they know something's not right.
Yeah. And going on to the facing, there's a lot of students in community college, even high school, who like to look up at the ceiling when they're giving a monologue. And I guess when they're giving a monologue where they're yelling at somebody, the person is Spider-Man on the ceiling. And it's like, yeah, Spider-Man, why you be eating all my chips? You know? Or they'll look at the floor like the person just was right there and melted into the floor.
Right.
It's like, if you're going... looking at the audience can scare any actor.
Sure.
No matter how experienced you are, you got to realize that you don't have... The only reason why you're getting scared is because you're making eye contact with them and you're thinking, what do they think? A trick I learned is I learned to look above their head. Most of the in many scenes when I'm giving a monologue as Paul or a monologue in general, I'll stare at the sound booth guy. Because I know the sound booth guy knows what I'm trying to say, and he's
Right.
not judging me.
Right.
Or I'll stare at like a circular, circular figure.
Right.
Something that's not the audience.
Right.
Give them the appearance that I'm staring at them, but I'm
But
not.
actually doing it, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you're yelling at a character, like when you're giving a monologue as a presentation, and the character is not there, you're up there by yourself, you got to find a focus point. And even if you're looking away and somebody's yelling at you, you
Right.
don't want to break focus and look off into the audience because you're breaking the fourth wall right there. You got to find a focus point. And a lot of students forget that they got to find a focus point. They got to look at something and you got to remain focused. As long as you immerse yourself and actually pretend that there is a wall between you and the audience, between the audience's reality and your reality, once you establish that, stage fright goes away. You're standing there. You'll be I know some actors that can stare directly at you in the audience, not break character, and not even get stage fright because they build that wall. Now, I'm a new actor. I've only been doing this for 5 years, and that's pretty new, as opposed to someone like Dennis O'Connor, who's
Right.
been doing it for 35 years.
Right.
I could probably go up to him and ask him, if you look into the eyes of the audience, do you get scared? He'll probably either say yes, or he'll probably say no. Or he probably says, I just forget that they're there.
Right.
Because he's a very talented actor. But, yeah. So, projection, homework, standing, the way you stand, the way you present yourself, planting of your feet, and focus on anything. Focus on a point. Focus on a particular person. If you're giving a monologue and you have to be interactive with the audience, it's okay to go over and make focus with of an audience member. This actually would help if it was somebody you knew, like a friend. It's like, okay, you're going to stay in the front row because I know that I'm going to have to give this monologue, and I need somebody to be my focus point. And I want you to be my focus point. So, I think that's what all new actors need to realize, pretty much.
What parts would you like to do that you haven't done yet?
Well, in the spring at Lone Star Community College, they are doing this production of Midsummer Night's Dream.
Right.
And I mentioned that before because I really, really like Midsummer Night's Dream. It's a beautiful story. And I know the director, and the director asked me what parts that I would be interested in. How I mean, Lysander, Demetrius, nah. I wouldn't want to be, the love interest. Give me Oberon, Lord Oberon. Give me Bottom, or give me Puck.
Puck, right.
I would love to be Puck. Though I would have to be very acrobatic.
Right.
But I'd love to be Puck. And I'd really love to be Bottom because there's just something about him that reminds me of myself. And I would also, if any place were doing a rendition of The Importance of Being Earnest,
Oh, absolutely.
I would love to be Algernon.
Yes.
I'm probably too young to be Algernon, but I'd still
I don't know.
love to.
Like I said, if you had everybody's about the same age, kind of matched up, it could work. Absolutely, it could work.
I was actually thinking about trying out for the Wizard of Oz here at the Crighton when it came up. I would kind of like the two that I want to be would either be the Tin Man or the Scarecrow.
So, my son was saying, "Hey, can I be a Tin Man?" And I said, "Well, we still got to figure out how we're going to do all this makeup without you getting, some,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Makeup.
That would be fun. Oh, that would be a fun part.
So much detail when it comes to makeup.
Yeah.
Unlike this production, where I can just throw on a base, do my eyes, and
pretty simple.
Throw on some blush, and I go out there and I'm Pretty Boy Paul.
Right.
But makeup itself, I would rather have somebody who knew what they were doing my makeup than myself, because I'm sitting there even in the dressing room trying to put on eyeliner, and I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna exactly work and kind of depict what I'm trying to do.
Right.
So I'd always go into the girls' dressing room.
Right.
Hey, Cheryl, can you make me beautiful? She'd stare at me. Oh, God.
Well, for most guys, makeup isn't something we do.
No.
Unless you're metrosexual or something like that. But most of that, we don't do makeup.
We don't know. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Makeup is... I'm an artist. I paint.
Right.
I draw. And makeup is an art form that only women seem to have the dexterity to do. It's like, I go into the girls' dressing room, I'm like, hey, I need to be beautified. And they're already done their eyeliner, lipstick, the blush, and they look like porcelain dolls. And I'm coming in, and I'm looking like Rob Zombie over here with big black eyeliner on, and I'm like, I don't think I did this right. Because the only other people I had to ask are guys.
Yeah.
Hey, does this look good? Yeah.
But we're a guy, Hey, we're guys, right? So it's all right.
It's all right. And then when I hear that, I'm like, all right, I guess that is prompting me to go ask a woman. Tip for all guy actors: when you're doing makeup, as long as you know what you're doing, that's fine. But if you really need help, go to the girls. If there's any girls in that play, go to them. As long as you haven't been annoying them, and they still like you, they'll do your makeup. But if you go up to a girl that obviously does not like you, prepare to look like Bozo the Clown. There was a girl in Sherlock Holmes who would go and turn all the guys that she didn't like when they asked her to do her do their makeup into clowns.
Oh, dear.
Well, not like literally clowns, but they would look right.
Right.
Like, we had one guy, the character's name was Sid, and he was a thief, he was a pickpocket. This guy comes out with like big old eyeshadow, mascara, and I look at him and I'm like, guy, I don't think Sid's, I don't think he swings that way, I don't think he's a cross-dresser. And he's like, well, she said this is the way that the director wants it. So we went up to Mr. Williams, and I'm like, is this right? And he's like, oh my God, what did she do to you?
Right. So going forward, so you've talked about some of the things that you like to do. What are your favorite shows? TV shows, films?
TV shows. I'm more into, like, kind of a fantasy, but I'm also into comedy shows. I like the Dresden Files.
Okay.
And that's a show about a wizard investigator who, when the police can't figure out a murder that has something to do with supernatural means, they call in Dresden. And Dresden's the wizard, and he uses divination and stuff, and he always, fixes the case. I like Scrubs.
Okay. Yeah.
Scrubs, medical students on wacky adventures. I like that. Another good show I like was Big Bang Theory, of course.
Right, of course.
Taxi, that old
That's
show.
an old one. Yeah, that's from the 80s.
I like Taxi.
Oh, you had a lot of folks on that Taxi. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Andy Kaufman Lodka.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito. Why did that?
Yeah.
That name? He's the Penguin.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the Penguin. Why did I forget that?
I haven't seen him in much, lately. Of course, I don't watch that many.
He's in Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, which, oddly enough, does not depict anything about Philadelphia. I'm from Philadelphia, and that
really? Yeah.
and that thing does not
Right.
depict anything in Philadelphia. Oh my God. It's just like the Jersey Shore.
Right.
It's like they're depicting everybody in Jersey, but if you go up to a person from New Jersey and say, does this, how you guys behave? Yeah. They'll stare at you and say, no, you buffoon, you idiot.
Yeah, it's interesting how they manage to get folks that, like I said, as long as, let's pull one over. Okay, we'll get some people with beautiful bodies, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll just throw
a pseudo-Jersey accent. We'll throw them some beach. I don't even know where it's filmed. It's probably not even filmed on the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, they're probably
on the boardwalk. Yeah,
yeah, tanning them up.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but every time I go into Jersey, I find a whole bunch of Irish girls, and they blend in with the sand way too easily.
If heaven exists, what do you want God to say when you get to the pearly gates?
If heaven existed and God had to ask me or say anything to me, I want him to look down at me and say, I gave you this much time and you did this much with it. I don't know whether to reward you or to send you on in. Maybe reward you with the second life so you could try to double it because apparently you did this much with this amount of time.
Does the words "take two" mean anything to you?
Take two.
So, Alex, thanks for being here.
All right, thank you for having me.